Vish here, and today I want to talk about what I believe is really almost the most important skill you can ever start to develop, and it has been probably, I would say, more valuable to me and helped me to free myself from within more than almost anything that I've done, and that is moving towards your pain. When you are triggered, when uncomfortable emotions come up, moving towards them, embracing them, welcoming them, fully feeling them. So in this video, I'm going to dive into that, and I'm also going to show you how to do it and explain a little bit more about how it will really free you and help you to heal in a deeper way than almost anything. So over the last few years, I have been practicing being with my discomfort. I would probably say that this has been my practice. Out of every spiritual practice that I've dived into the most, I have dived into being with uncomfortable emotions. I've committed that when my triggers come up, that I will open my heart and I will be present with them. I will give them my unconditional presence. I will open up my body and I will allow stuck emotion, also known as trauma, to do its thing through me, to release when ready, to have the space to express itself. We live in a culture that has conditioned us from day one to constantly avoid pain. So this is why so many of us just pretend that we're okay all the time, even when we are practically dying inside. This is why painkillers exist. So instead of being with the pain of a headache, we have been taught since birth that if you have a headache, quickly take a painkiller to just numb it. Even though what headaches are trying to tell you, your body's trying to tell you something through the pain it sends you. It's always trying to signal something even deeper. Since I stopped taking painkillers, and all that kind of stuff, and anti-inflammatory tablets, and just being with my physical pain as well, it's healed much faster because I've allowed myself to feel it. Because trauma, pain, stuck emotion, it doesn't want you to try to heal it or get rid of it. It just wants you to feel it. It wants you to validate it, and it wants you to essentially give it the space it needs to express itself. Throughout our lives as adults, we are constantly getting triggered. This planet is just like trigger city. We come here, and when we are born, from the time of birth, we have experiences that are difficult for us to process. And we can call them traumas, we can just call them stuck emotion, we can call them energetic impressions. But when an experience, an event, an interaction is too painful for us to allow, and too painful for us to deal with, what tends to happen is that emotion, that whole event just gets stuck inside of us. And then as adults, we're constantly getting triggered because the universe's number one intention is to help us heal and to help us be whole. And when we are split into many parts from all these different traumas that occur, we are not whole. We have parts of us that are still frozen, our 12-year-old self, our 6-year-old self. And that's why you can see a grown man in his 60s have a tantrum the same way that you would see a 5-year-old have it. Because when something triggers that stuck emotion inside him, that energy packet that got frozen of when he was 6, the 6-year-old comes alive in him again and takes over. And that's really what's happening. So as soon as I learned that actually the biggest barrier to me being at peace, to me being happy in my life and being free, was all of this stuff that kept coming up. And actually not all of this stuff coming up. The stuff coming up is just what it is. But my resistance to it, the fact that I would always distract, I would drink, I would, jump on my computer or jump on social media or just do things that would distract me from being there to allow the healing to take place within. As soon as I learned that being with the pain, being with the painful emotions when they come up, they will actually start to release and I will be free for good, I just committed to it. That was it. I just decided that as soon as pain comes up, as soon as anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, if I'm heavily triggered, no matter what happens, I'm going to do my best to just keep my heart open, to be present with it, and just to allow these emotions to express themselves because they have a mind of their own. I don't have to make this emotion heal or make this emotion go away. If I just let it be, it will get to heal. Because essentially when a traumatic event happens in your life and the trauma gets stuck in you, it's always looking for resolution. And that's why the universe constantly triggers us. Every trigger is another opportunity for resolution. And when it's resolved, it will release. The part of you that is stuck in time will integrate, and you will be even more free. Your vibration will automatically rise because the only thing that keeps our vibration down is these traumas that we are not allowing ourselves to deal with. So, this isn't to say that since I made this decision, everything has been roses. Not at all. There are so many moments where I just get caught in the pit of anxiety or the pit of pain. This is being human. But I always find that through the pain, through the anxiety, through these triggers that come up, I find myself in the same place, which is just surrendering to how I feel. Just surrendering and allowing these parts of me to integrate. I can't even tell you how much has changed in my life since I committed to doing this. Honestly, I used to get so triggered. I used to have a lot of jealousy come up. I used to have a lot of anger. So many triggers, my partner would say something to me and I'd totally misinterpret it. I'd go back to the days when I got bullied. It would feel like I was being excluded or I wasn't being respected. And this would be the same for other people around me. They would say things to me and it would just be like I would go back into my 10-year-old self. And I wouldn't know that at the time, but I know it now. Since choosing to go, okay, I'm triggered, I'm not gonna externalize this and blame somebody else and try to change them so I don't feel this way. Instead, I'm gonna be with this, I'm gonna allow it, and I'm just gonna welcome it. Since doing that, so much of the stuff is just released. Once you make the decision to be with your pain, to be with all of the challenging emotions that arise in you anytime, any day when you are triggered, you are well and truly on a very deep healing journey. Our external reality is simply a mirror to our internal reality as well. So your external reality will change once you allow yourself to experience this pain, once you allow yourself to experience the sadness, the fear, the anger, the guilt, the hurt, whatever comes up when you're triggered. Because when we are fragmented inside, meaning that we have parts of us that have split off from trauma that are still traumatized, we have stuck energy. We have stuck emotions that never got to fully process, then we are essentially going to see that reflected in the world around us. Because when we are fragmented within, our external world is fragmented too. But the more we come into wholeness by welcoming and embracing and experiencing whatever emotions arise within us, not only will our mind go more silent, but also our external world will reflect that. We get to receive the life we want more easily, because we are not blocking it with these unconscious, stuck energy packets. The mind also goes quiet, as I just mentioned, because actually why the mind is so busy and so loud for most people is because the mind is always trying to figure out how to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And the more trauma we have inside, the more stuck emotion we have inside, these unprocessed energy packets, the more we have, the more we are trying to avoid. So the noisier our mind is. The way to silence your mind is to simply welcome and embrace and feel everything that comes up. Whether that's joy and pain, whether that is happiness or sadness, whether that is, pride or self-deprecation, whatever comes up, just welcome it all, because you're only going to be able to experience as much joy as you are willing to experience pain. So if you're only willing to feel a little bit of pain that comes up, you can only feel a little bit of joy. You can't cheat this in any way. They are both perfectly correlated. Both polarities are perfectly correlated because they're both just two ends of the same spectrum. It's really our judgments and our conditioning that makes us believe that we shouldn't feel pain and pain is bad and pain is scary. Once we create this attitude of moving towards it though, the whole game changes. I still get challenged when things get really challenging. Like yesterday, I had a pretty anxious day yesterday. But because I've been practicing for years to be with my pain, I was able to surrender to it. rather than get caught into it for days and days. So you'll still have your challenging days, but you will catch them quicker and you will use them as opportunities to grow and evolve. I can feel that I've let go of so much since yesterday, and I feel so much lighter in my body. I know my vibration has risen and my external reality has already begun to reflect that. So if you want to start moving towards your emotion and you want to start feeling your discomfort, being comfortable in the discomfort, Pema Chodron calls it discomfort resilience. You know, if you read the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, he's also discussing this. And that's really the first place where I learned that we are prisoners to whatever we're not facing, to whatever feelings we're not facing. So the way that I go about feeling my challenging emotions, there isn't really a process, to be honest with you, but I'm going to try to condense it into a few steps so you can start to follow it. Then you can just take it and you can run with it. So always use triggers as the doorway to this. You'll notice that you're being triggered in day-to-day life. You might be driving your car and somebody cuts you off and you get angry. That's just an example. Or your partner says something to you and it triggers you. It makes you feel less than. It makes you feel like they're not respecting you. As soon as you notice this, just take a breath and just come into your body and just acknowledge that if you are feeling some kind of strong, heavy emotion come up, it's got nothing to do with the person that triggered it. It's got nothing to do with the event that triggered it. They were simply a trigger. But this is emotion that has been stuck in you. And now you have the opportunity to deal with it so you're not triggered by this stuff anymore. Then simply close your eyes and visualize yourself moving towards it. Another thing you can do is close your eyes and imagine that you're surrounded by this challenging emotion and breathe more of it in. Feeling your heart expand as you allow more of this emotion to come in and fill up your heart. I remember learning that from, I think it was Pema Chodron. I heard her in a podcast and she was describing that as a practice to welcome your pain. And it's extremely powerful. I do this with my clients all the time. And it's like instant transformation. Really, you just want to be with whatever's coming up. You want to visualize your heart center opening. Relax your physiology. Relaxing your physiology is actually also a very, very important part, because when your physiology is relaxed, you're sending the signal to your brain that you're safe. When your brain knows you're safe, your nervous system starts to relax, accept, and these emotions get to process. One thing that can also happen though is, especially when you're new to this, if you find yourself getting really deep into the emotion and almost getting caught in it and not being able to find your way out, there comes a certain point where you can just practice gratitude. So once you've really let yourself process it, if you're finding a hard time shifting your energy back, I would say start to focus on what you're grateful for, because at that point you can consciously shift your state. Also, using your physiology again, you can, strong shoulders, chest out, smile. Because when you're on the level of the mind, trying to change your mind to be happy, it doesn't work because it's a mind arguing with the mind. But when you override the mind using your body, learning how to use your body, your mind will automatically quieten down by itself and your state will change. Just shifting into a powerful physiology changes your biochemistry instantly and it shifts you into a different state. So please try this out. I really cannot stress that this is the most important skill that you will ever develop, in my opinion, because life does bring both polarities. And if we're not willing to face them openly, we're always going to suffer. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. If you know somebody who could benefit from learning this skill, then feel free to share this with them, and I'd love to help as many people as I can with this kind of really life-changing work. If you'd like my personal help in being able to be with these emotions to allow them to heal so you can then shift from pain into peace, then you can apply for a consult with me for my one-to-one private coaching program. The link is down below in the description. This consult is free and we'll just see if you're a match for us to work together to see if we can help you create that life and let go of the old. However, as always, much love from me to you, and I will see you guys in the next video.